murder, and everything else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. And Joy and I are two very old friends who are going to talk about murder and everything else.
Cheryl,
Joy.
I went on a girls' trip this last week. Um, I think I had talked to you and told you that my friend Francoise, who is also a friend of the show and one of our original listeners, she flew out and we went to Charleston, South Carolina, which, by the way, for those of you listening, new listeners, old listeners, subscribe listeners, I don't know what else listeners, Charleston, South Carolina is one of the best cities in the South. It's my favorite city, and I'm sure there are plenty of people from other cities in the South who would beg to differ. But remember, it's my favorite city in the South. It's quaint, it's beautiful, it reminds me of the Caribbean. It's almost always warm. Sometimes it's so warm you feel like you're dying. But anyway, Francoise and I, we did some eating, we did some shopping, we did some walking around. We went to the African American Museum, which just opened last year. We went to an amazing restaurant called Magnolia's and had fried green tomatoes. Ooh, Cheryl, fried green tomatoes. But
Mm.
I just have to tell you a little story about, and by the way, I did get Francoise permission to tell this story about how she almost burned down the Airbnb.
Oh, God, I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
wait.
Oh, yeah. So it's the first morning. We wake up, we have our coffee, we have our little breakfast in our Airbnb, which, by the way, was so, so, so beautiful and so cute. It was a studio, but it was a good size studio. And um, Francoise had said she wanted to get her nails done. And so I found a nail salon that took walk in appointments. We got in the car and we drove from the Airbnb to across the bridge to Mount Pleasant, which is like in reality it's only 5 miles away total, but because of traffic and stoplights and leaving the historical downtown area and going across the bridge, it'll take 15-20 minutes. So we
Mhm.
get to the nail salon, we sit down in the chairs. I've taken off my shoes and rolled up my pants, and she's sitting next to me. And the guy comes up and he goes, "Would you ladies like anything to drink?" And I said, "I'd like a coffee, please." And he looks at Francoise and she says, "Oh, I don't drink coffee." She's like, "Unless you have tea." And he goes, "We have tea." And she goes, "Oh, I'd like a tea." And then she looks at me and she has this look on her face and she goes, "Oh my God, I put a pot on with water and I left it on to boil water to make tea and it's on high." And I'm like, "What?"
Oh,
And I literally jumped out of the pool of water, put my sandals back on, my feet are dripping wet, my pants are still like up around my knees,
oh my God.
race out of the nail salon, jump in the car. And remember,
Oh my,
I'm not from here, so there might be a faster way to go, but I don't know. So I raced back across the bridge. I'm probably doing 90 miles an hour because I
oh my
realized
God.
that it's taken us 20-25 minutes to
Oh
drive and get
no. Oh
situated.
my God.
So either the Airbnb is on fire or like the fire department, I don't know. So I pull off, I race in out of the car. As I pull up to the Airbnb, there's like this narrow little driveway you have to go through and you have to be careful. I can hear the smoke alarm is going off. It's like beep, 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 beep.
Oh,
And of course, we're staying in an Airbnb area. So there's an Airbnb above us, there's one to the side of us, there's one in front of us. So I
oh my God. You can hear
code
the smoke alarm. Oh,
until I got there, I wasn't panicked, but as soon as I heard the smoke alarm, my heart like jumps into my stomach. You know that feeling?
yes, yes.
And
Oh my
I'm
God.
fumbling with the code. I get in, I have to leave the door open because it's smoky inside. I I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I go over. The pan is completely out of water. It's
Oh
on
God.
high, and the Teflon is starting to smoke in the bottom of the pan or whatever coating. So I lay
Oh,
the
God.
pan in the sink and then I have to turn off the smoke alarm because it's incredibly loud. It is so loud that it makes you feel disoriented. It's so loud. And
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I know why it's loud. It's to wake up the dead. Because
Of course.
if it doesn't wake me up, it's going to wake the people upstairs or the people on the side. Anyway,
Right,
I
right.
reset the smoke alarm, which I got to tell you is a small miracle because like, I'm not a really good, like, fix it kind of gal. So the fact that I knew which button to push to reset it, I just held onto it for like 5 or 7 seconds and it stopped beeping. And then
Right,
I had to call the Airbnb office because I'm like, the neighbors are going to call and be like, one of the Airbnbs is on fire.
right.
So I had to call and I apologized profusely. I said, don't worry, everything's fine. We just reset the smoke alarm. We set it off accidentally, which we did. I didn't say we tried to burn down. I didn't say Francois tried to burn down the Airbnb. But girl, I'm literally now that I'm there and I'm having to do this stuff, my heart is like pounding and it's racing a mile a minute.
Uh-huh.
So I check like 100 times. Also, I have to air out the Airbnb before I can get in the car and go back to the nail salon
Right.
because I've now, yeah. So anyway, it was so crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, what would that conversation be like calling my husband and being like, we're going to have to buy a place in Charleston, South Carolina, in the historical part of town. I know it's only going to cost like $3 million. Like, could you imagine?
Well, first of all, I think they have insurance. Um,
Yeah, I know, but
but
still, Cheryl.
second, but can you imagine if she didn't remember?
Oh, she said to the guy, "Thank you so much for saying something about the tea. Otherwise, I would have never remembered. We would have burnt that fucking place down."
Oh my God, Joy, that is
Oh yeah.
so scary.
So anyway,
Oh,
I get in the car, I go back to the nail salon, I sit back down, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then I proceed to tell Francoise that I have done that no less than 5 to 7 times in the
with
last 20 years where I've almost burned down my house by putting something on to cook and leaving the house and not remembering and coming back to charred food, all the smoke alarms going off, the dogs are freaking out. I mean,
oh
I
my
have literally,
God.
and sometimes we weren't owners, sometimes we were renters. So I'm glad that I told her, I said, I'm glad I'm not the only person who's done this.
Oh, that
A
is
lady,
so.
I know, crazy, right? But there's a lady getting her nails done in the salon and she's listening to us. And she
Uh-huh.
comes over at the end and she tells us that she is a rental owner for 2 Airbnb properties in downtown Charleston. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yay. She goes, that's
Well,
nightmare scenario as a rental owner. I'm like, well, I was like, number one, I'm sure you have insurance. Number two, I mean, at least we remembered. And she's, oh, I'm so glad nothing bad happened. I'm like, yeah, you and me too, sister.
oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
Oh, that's one of those moments where you guys had an angel that just like sprinkled some dust, that the guy was like, would you, and like something to drink, and she said tea, because that conversation could not have happened. And
No.
then, oh my God, that is terrifying. I have to tell you,
You
I
know,
am not,
wait, just before you tell me, I have to just interject. The only disappointing part of the story is that we didn't get to call the firemen.
yeah, but what if they weren't hot?
Have you ever seen a not hot fireman? No, you haven't. Doesn't
Yeah.
exist. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I have a ritual wherever I live where I check the stuff in the kitchen, especially. I
I
do
have a
a, okay,
ritual
that's
too, and
off
it's
the,
I Francoise and I have a ritual too, and it's where we put something on to cook and then we
and
leave.
you let No, I literally do, because I am so afraid of fires. Yeah. I check, and sometimes I'm like, I know this is me though. I have to laugh at myself because I'll even have locked the door and I'll be like, oh, I didn't look at the stove, to check if there's that red light on. And I'll go back and then I get in the car and I go, "You're so silly because you know you didn't cook anything since maybe 5 days ago, so why would it even be hot?"
No, you know what? I have turned things like I've taken food off the stove and left the stove on, and I've also like
Oh, people do
thought
that.
I turned thought I've turned it off, but I actually didn't turn it all the way off.
Well,
So
oh
it's
yes,
just
someone I know
partly
does that.
on. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So,
Somebody I know
I
does that.
mean, that shit can happen to
Oh, it
anybody.
can. No, I know a couple just real quick where the husband said the wife is infamous for doing that, where she'll take
Oh
something
my
off the stove
God.
and leave it on. Anyway,
Anyway, Francoise, thank you for coming out and thank you for the girls' trip. It was much needed. And thank you for remembering when he asked you if you wanted a tea that you had left the pot of
oh
water on
God.
because OMG, could you imagine what a different story I'd be telling today? But
Oh,
anyway, here's to girls' trips. Everybody should take
yay.
them. Everybody should be, even if you're not a girl, you should be going on a girls' trip. Anyway, heading into some updates. Um, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Heading into some updates, we just want to let you guys know that we have some longer than usual podcasts lately. We've got a couple of 1 hour and 7 minutes, 1 hour and 10 minutes, 1 hour and 12 minutes. But that's because the subject matter requires us to go over the 1 hour mark. But I think it's worth it. So I think if you invest the time to listen, you'll find that it's worth it too. Also, we have had zero backlash from removing our disclaimer about the podcast not being for kids, so that's nice. As they say, no news is good news. And finally, we've had a ton of letters from our listeners and we've had Instagram posts, um we've had shout outs on TikTok, I've had text messages. um, so thank you everybody for reaching out and continue to reach out. Um, Also, I did something last week or the week before, and I lost all our production stuff, all our outlines, all our research, and everything from season one and most of season two. So if anyone has
Oh
any
gosh.
questions about stuff we did in the past, I probably won't be able to answer you, but what I can tell you to do is I didn't delete season one episodes or season two episodes. So you can always go back and re listen. So, anyhow, Cheryl, do you have any updates?
I do. So I'm sure everyone knows this name, Orenthal James Simpson, otherwise known as O.J. Simpson, died.
Well, I didn't
Ha-
know his name was Orenthal.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What did you think it
Cheryl.
was? Joy?
I just thought it was like a nickname he got like when he was a football player. Like maybe they called him OJ because he liked to drink a lot of orange juice before he played football or something. I don't know.
This is why I did the idioms episode where I wanted you to come up with what you thought something originated from. No, his name's Orenthal James
Oh, I had
Simpson.
no
Yeah.
idea.
I think it was a travesty that well, I know he spent 9 years behind bars for theft and whatever else he was charged with when he broke into the Vegas hotel with his friends or whoever his backup was. And, he was trying to, I didn't realize this all these years, but I was watching some specials or little updates on his death. I mean, there's really not much, other than maybe Ron Goldman's family and Nicole Brown's family can find some peace. I'm sorry, everyone. It's really warm here in Arizona. So I have the doors open because my air conditioner is not working.
Newsflash, everyone,
Unless
it's warm in Arizona.
no, but I'm sorry for the motorcycle sound effects.
Oh,
Anywho, um, so I forgot what I was saying, but no, that he was trying to get his memorabilia. He's been trying because in the civil case, so he was found not guilty in the criminal case, but in the civil case, he was found guilty. And so he was, the families were awarded, I don't know how much money, and he tried to hide all his assets, right? So I heard that
Right.
that was part of the Vegas thing, which I had no idea. I thought he was just trying to get his shit back. But
Interesting.
anyway, I hope that the families can rest in peace now, or can live in peace. But I would really love to see what is going on the other side. Like, does he meet them on the other side and they get to have some words with him? Or, does he meet his maker? I mean, what happens?
I mean,
But
I don't want to like put the cart before the horse, but I don't really know if he's going to be in a good place on the other side.
I
I don't
know.
know.
Well, that's
It's not up to me to decide, but I got to be honest, like I'm pretty sure that the other side is like his other side, if he's guilty, is not going to be very good.
right in. You got, I'm so sorry. What is this? A biker's day? Um,
Yeah.
so write in, tell us if you thought he was guilty, not guilty, how you feel about it. Tell us if you believe in heaven and hell. Tell us anything you want.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's
Let's Anyway, I just want you guys to I just want to let you guys know that we are now rolling into shout outs. I have a shout out to Target. And I don't usually do shout outs to stores and stuff because we're not getting any kickbacks from these people, but also they don't need my shout out. But I have reached a place in my life where I am tired of wearing stuff that cuts into me, i.e., underwire bras. And if anybody has been out there looking for something to harness the girls in over the shoulder boulder holder style, I have to tell you, Target has, and I don't know if you've been there, Cheryl, and checked it out, they have a huge selection of non underwire bras for women that are not just like sporty and like jog bra kind of style, but they also have cute lacy ones. They have really nice stretchy like non-athletic like kind of tank top ones. They have everything you could want. I mean, you don't have to be sporting a uniboob anymore. Like you can actually wear a non-underwire bra that's cute and affordable. Did I say affordable? Ugh.
I
Jeez.
I stopped wearing underwire. I don't know how long ago. That is the most um torturous, unnecessary piece of equipment that a woman has to wear that I
It's
can think
true.
of. It's just, why are we wearing wires?
Well, I
Men,
was wearing them because I didn't want the girls to be like, pointing downward like right now because I'm too young for that. But now, thanks to Target, I have all these cute little like lacy numbers that are helping things point outwards and not downwards. And not,
oh, I not only do I not like wires, I don't like the hooks too. So I just buy the ones that you pull over your head.
oh well,
It's more
I'm a total noob to these bras. I'm a convert girl because I bought two, but I'm headed back to buy some more, like cute, like, lacy numbers. And for those of you wondering, like, I enjoy the lacy numbers. I'm not buying them so that somebody else can ogle my boobage. I'm buying them so I can ogle my own boobage. So, Cheryl, do you have any shout outs?
I have a shout out to small boobs. There. It's so much, you know what? I've always wanted big boobs, but I have to say, after hearing people and the back hurts and then people getting breast reductions and whatnot, I have come to embrace my small boobs, my very, very, very small boobs, because there are times I can get away without wearing a bra. And I think that's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to have really small boobs, but I notice as I get older, I mean, they're not big, but I notice as I get older, they're getting a little more like baggy, like where there's a lot more like swing there, because there's like gravity.
Yeah.
It's annoying. It's funny how like something that's flat for the majority of your life can really pick up some steam as it starts heading downhill. So annoying. Anyway, hey guys. So I wanted to read a letter from our listener. I got some Instagram messages from Jen T, who I think I talked about on a previous episode. She was on a family trip to one of the Hawaiian Islands, which I'm not going to say which one, just to protect her anonymity. But she said she was listening to all of our podcasts on her trip, which is so
Aw,
awesome. Thank you so
that's
much,
awesome.
Nancy. And for all the rest of you spring breakers out there, whether you're in Hawaii or somewhere else, remember to tell 200 of your best friends and family about our amazing little podcast and tell them to subscribe and listen.
Gen
So, there,
T, I feel like we're honored that that's what you would
right?
choose to listen to on your vacation. That's amazing.
I know. I'm so, so, so happy that people are listening to our little podcast, all over the place. Remember, we have
Awesome.
nine countries represented in our listening pool. We have not added a country for quite some time, Cheryl.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Sure.
while Jen and I were messaging on Instagram, I have to say that she made a recommendation of a movie called Joyride. And I don't know if you've seen it, it's on Netflix. It's a primarily Asian cast. So you should probably go check it out, Cheryl, because I know how much you love Asian cast movies,
That's
as
right.
do I. But it's starring this girl who is, I can't remember her name, of course, but she plays she's the Korean girl in Emily in Paris. Do you know who that is?
I know who you're talking about. I don't know her name.
Yeah.
Is it
Well,
on Netflix?
it's on
Netflix?
Netflix.
Netflix?
Yeah, and she plays a girl who goes on a business trip to China. She was told her whole life that she was Chinese American adopted, only to find out that she's actually Korean American and adopted from Korea. So of course she ends up in Korea. So anyway, thank you, Genti, for the recommendation.
Are
We
you sure
watched
it's on
it.
Netflix? I can't find it.
I'm pretty sure it is. Oh no, I think it was Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime.
Oh, when you said Joyride, so there was a thriller movie that Paul Walker, remember Paul Walker?
Yeah.
He was in. That's what I thought you were talking about. I've seen that movie like 10 times. I love it so much. But I will
Yeah.
have to check this out. This sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I
It
have to
was.
rent it.
Oh, yeah, I think you have to pay for it. I didn't because I got all those free promos
No,
on
I,
Amazon Prime.
you know what, Joy? I have been racking up digital credits. You guys, if you
Isn't that
don't know about,
isn't that
yeah,
great?
if you don't know about this, y'all, when you check out your cart, when you go shopping on Amazon, and you go to checkout, you pay for everything. There's an option to consolidate your items and for less shipments,
Yep.
so one has to make less deliveries, and you get digital credits. So I've been doing it, and you can use them on music or movies or whatever. So yeah, maybe I'll check
Yep.
this one. Ashley Park, is that her name?
Ashley Park. Anyway, she plays the lead character and there is, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like an Asian Bridesmaids. It's
Is it?
not always funny from start to finish, but it has some funny parts. And one of the
Okay.
things I do like about it is it's pretty current in like how they cast people. And I love the inclusivity of like what's happening right now. So thank you so much. Anyway, I'll
Okay.
leave it at that. Anyway, Cheryl, you got any letters from our listeners?
No, you're the only one that gets them.
Oh, okay. All right. Just checking. One of these days, somebody should reach out to Cheryl, the
Well, we
two
have.
people that are friends of hers that listen to this and let her know what's going on in your lives, and then she'll have a letter to shout out.
There you go.
Yep. Anyway, guys, this week we're going to be doing something that we've done a couple times before, and that is we're going to be doing a little housekeeping. Housekeeping episode 3, and otherwise known as the Golden Divorce episode.
Ooh, stay
So,
tuned. Stay tuned.
Cheryl is going to comment on and update us on some of the murder cases that we've done. And I am going to comment on several of the other type of episodes that we've done. So,
She's gonna do the and everything else. I'll do the
and
murder. She'll
perfect.
do the
That's
and
right.
everything else.
That's right. So hold on to your hats. Take it away, Cheryl. And
To your
also, by the
butt.
way, when Cheryl talks about these updates, just so you guys know, I will shout out the names of the episodes and when they were released, just so that you guys can go back and listen to them.
That is so awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about James and Jennifer Crumbley. So I think I updated last week that James was also found guilty. Jennifer was found guilty like a month previous to that. But I got this information from CNN.com. The parents of the teenager who killed 4 students in the 2021 school shooting in Oxford, Michigan, were each sentenced on April 9th to 10 to 15 years in prison, weeks after being convicted of manslaughter. James and Jennifer Crumbley, who each had faced up to 15 years in prison, have already been in prison for over 2 years since their arrest in a Detroit warehouse. Remember, they were hiding out? That's
Yes,
not guilty
great.
behavior. Um,
No, not at
where
all.
since their since their arrest in a Detroit warehouse days after the shooting. Though they were tried separately, their sentencing took place together in an Oakland County courtroom. They are the first parents to be held criminally responsible for a mass school shooting committed by their child as the nation continues to grapple with the scourge of gunfire on campus. Before imposing her sentences, Oakland County Circuit Court Judge Cheryl Matthews told families of the victims she could never understand their pain, but assured them that she saw what they saw and heard what they heard at both trials. The convictions, she said, were not about poor parenting. She said these convictions confirm repeated acts or lack of acts that could have halted an oncoming runaway train, about repeatedly ignoring things that make a reasonable person feel the hair on the back of their neck stand up. Opportunity knocked over and over again, louder and louder, and was ignored. No one answered, and these 2 people should have and sure didn't. The judge said James Crumbley provided unfettered access to a gun or guns as well as ammunition in their home, while Jennifer Crumbley glorified the use and possession of these weapons. And then the Crumbleys addressed the families in the court before sentencing. Jennifer Crumbley said, I sit here today to express my deepest sorrows for the families of Hannah, Tate, Madison, Justin, and to all those affected on November 30th, 2021. I'm not here to ask for your forgiveness, as I know it may be beyond reach, but to express my sincerest apologies for the pain that has been caused. I will be in my own internal prison for the rest of my life. James Crumbley said, before I address this court directly, I want to do something that I had never been able to do. I want to say I can't imagine the pain and agony for the families that have lost their children and what they're experiencing and what they're going through. I cannot express how much I wish that I had known what was going on with Ethan or what was going to happen, because I absolutely would have done a lot of things differently, which I don't know how you feel, but I'm sure the parents, to me, I mean, I obviously can't speak for the families, but I feel like those are just empty words. They're just words. It's like the judge said to them, they had so many opportunities. And for him to say he didn't know what was going on with Ethan, I mean, that's the kid clearly needed help, you know?
Uh,
So the mother of Madison Baldwin, her name's Nicole, she said she remembered her daughter's laugh, her smile, her smarts, and her creativity before turning her comments to the Crumbleys. And then she said to them, when you knew the gun was missing, you called the police knowing it was your son who took it. I was having family call every hospital describing what Madison looked like. When you texted, Ethan, don't do it, I was texting Madison, I love you, please call mom. That just
Ugh,
broke me up when I read that. Ugh. So Justin Schilling's dad, another victim, his name's Craig. He spoke of the pain, anger, heartache, regret, anxiety, and stress he lives with every day. He said, literally every single aspect of my life has been affected by this tragedy. The blood of our children is on your hands. And then Justin's mother, Jill, said the tragedy was completely preventable. If only they had done something, Your Honor, anything to shift the course of events on November 30th, then our four angels would be here today, she said. It is devastating and heartbreaking that it doesn't appear that either of you cherished or even wanted your son, but I wholeheartedly wanted and cherished mine, she said. You have failed your son and you have failed us all. That also got to me. Ooh, when she
yeah.
said, you didn't want your son, but I wholeheartedly wanted mine. Uh, and then Reina St. Juliana, who is the sister of Hannah, who was also killed. Hannah was 14 years old when she was killed, lamented that her 10-year-old little brother had to learn how to write a eulogy for his sister before he even learned how to write essays. After sentencing, Oakland County prosecuting attorney Karen McDonald said the defendants expressed feeling bad, but what mattered to the victims' families most was an expression of remorse, an acknowledgement of the wrongdoing, and some sort of reconciliation or apology for that, and that didn't come. These were tragic and awful, awful deaths, and what these families have gone through, and it is preventable. It is preventable. In a statement, McDonald added, nothing will bring their children back, but the judge recognized the suffering these defendants caused, and she acknowledged the victims and their families. The sentence today provides the highest level of accountability under the law, and that's appropriate.
Wow. I feel almost like it's a little too much too late. It's like you
Too
don't get to,
little, too late.
yeah, too little too late. I mean, it's just you don't get to say those words, and
After
it's
the
almost
fact.
like, yeah, it's like you're professing your innocence when you're not innocent, you're guilty. And
Yeah,
I
I mean, they were found guilty in the court of law by their peers, and it just, there was so much evidence. There was so much evidence, and it wasn't like one fork in the road. They had so many forks in the road that they could have done something differently. And you can't say that you didn't know what was going on with Ethan. You know he was troubled. If you
Mhm.
don't know he was troubled, then you are a bad parent.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking. And again, I I just don't want to spend any time and energy on those people, because I think about those four students, you know?
And
I don't
their
want to spend
families.
yeah, I don't want to spend any time and energy on those parents.
Well, let
Like
me just ask
for
you.
them.
So they faced up to 15 years, and they are getting 10 to 15 years. What do you think of the sentence? Fair, just, too much,
Well, I
too
mean, will they be
little?
able to have children again when they get out of prison? I hope not. I mean,
No,
I think
but just as far as like punishment, like, is it fair?
I
Too
don't
much, too
know.
little?
I don't know. Unfortunately, our court system can only do two things. It can sentence you to time, and it can make you pay money. Those are the only
Hmm.
two things that we can give people. So we
Right.
can
But I'm
put
just
we can
asking
put
you,
their we can put the accused in prison for life or for a sentence of many years, and we can award the innocent money. There's nothing else we can give them. We can't give them back the lives of these kids.
yeah. So, well, let's ask our listeners. You guys let us know. Do you think 10 to 15 years is a just sentence? Is it too little, too late?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't pull the trigger, right? So there's that.
Right.
But there were many signs, many signs that
Many.
Ethan was troubled. And they gave him a loaded gun, no pun intended or pun intended. So yeah, you guys write into murder and everything else at gmail.com and let us know, 10
Let
to
us
15 years.
know.
What do you think? Okay, moving on to the second. Oh, what episode was that from? It was
Oh,
Jennifer
sorry.
Crumley.
Yeah, that was from season 2, episode 10, and it was called Guilty Verdict Jennifer Crumbly, and that dropped on March 10th of
Yeah.
2024.
All right, you can listen to more details about her trial.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give an update on Brian Koberger, the Idaho student murders. So I think that was our first episode in our first season, right? Was that? Am I right? Am I right? Or am I right? Or am I right?
Let me go back
I'm
and check,
pretty
but
sure
I think you're right,
it
Cheryl.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that
was.
was
This,
episode 1, Idaho Murders Affidavit, and that dropped on January 10th, 2023. That was our pilot episode.
yep. So, as you all probably know, four students were murdered in an off campus house on November 13, 2022. That's anyway. Ethan Chapin, Xana Cornudo, Maddie Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez were the four students that were viciously stabbed to death. So, from CNN.com in June of last year, the man accused of fatally stabbing four University of Idaho students could be executed by firing squad if he's convicted and sentenced to death.
What?
If the excuse me, if the state cannot obtain the drugs necessary for a lethal injection.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that came out last year.
Wow,
I'm just
great
going
job,
back.
Idaho. Good God. A
Can you
firing
imagine?
squad? What is this, like 1875?
It says if the state cannot obtain the drugs. Now, how in the world can the state not obtain the drugs?
Well,
I
I
don't
don't
understand
wanna
that
I
either.
don't I don't wanna be, like, too controversial here, but we got a lot of states out there that are telling women that they're second-class citizens, so why would they be able to find drugs if they needed it, for crying out loud? But they
Right,
don't
right.
even know how they seem to think that women don't need to have agency over their own bodies. So, I'll just leave that there.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible though. My God.
Yeah.
So then in October of last year, this is from Newsweek, that the missing evidence that could make or break the trial. So the knife, which is the murder weapon, has not been found yet. On the bed beside Maddie and Kaylee's bodies, a tan knife sheath had been found, and I had talked about that in our episode. And Koberger was matched to the DNA found on the sheath with a 99.9999999% probability.
Wow.
So let's go now. We're going to go forward to April of this year. The judge overseeing Brian Koberger's quadruple murder case lambasted the suspect's defense attorney Thursday, saying she commissioned phone surveys to potential jurors that could hinder Koberger's ability to get a fair trial. Defense attorney Ann C. Taylor had a sharp accusation of her own, saying the judge violated her client's right to due process by ordering a stop to the anonymous survey without hearing the defense's side first. Koberger's defense attorney said the phone survey was an important part of her efforts to seek a change of venue for Koberger's trial, given the vast amount of local media coverage on the case in Northwest Idaho. Latau County prosecutor Bill Thompson said he had no problem with the defense commissioning responsible, proper surveys, but this survey cannot stand. Thompson said a resident contacted his office about some of the questions received during the phone survey, including, have you read, seen, or heard that Brian Koberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania? Have you read, seen, or heard if police found a knife sheath on the bed next to one of the victims? Have you read, seen, or heard that DNA found on the knife sheath was later matched to Brian Koberger? Have you read, seen, or heard if university students in Moscow, Idaho, and their parents lived in fear until Brian Koberger was arrested for the murders? Have you read, seen, or heard that Brian Koberger stalked one of the victims? The polling team, Trial Innovations, hired by Brian Koberger's defense, has been spreading false information that he stalked one of the four murder victims in the case, the prosecutor said in court. I did not know that. I did not know this. The prosecutor is accusing the defense of spreading that rumor.
Oh, wow.
And so
That's crazy. I mean, I did see that they said he had reached out multiple times through like instant messaging and said hello to one of the girls. But I don't
mhm.
really consider that stalking. I consider that being a weird, creepy guy AF trying to talk to a girl who has no interest.
So I was confused. Well, let me finish reading this and I'll go back and talk about it. So Dr. Brian Edelman, who supervised a phone poll a phone poll of 400 potential jurors in an Idaho county for the defense agreed that one of the questions asked was if potential jurors had read, seen, or heard that Koberger stalked one of the victims. Judge, you know his name is Judge, right? His
Yeah,
last name is Judge.
I
It's
remember
Judge
that
Judge.
from
Oh
before.
my
That's
God.
crazy.
He was destined to become a judge. Judge put a temporary halt on the survey, barring both sides from contacting potential jurors in the case after the prosecution raised issues about the questions last month. He has not yet decided whether the polling can resume. Judge will hear arguments on the potential change of venue at 10 a.m. on June 27, and Koberger's deadline to submit an alibi is next week. So
Ooh.
I was super confused when I was doing the research for this. I was like, what? Wait a minute. What? I had to keep reading it over and over because I'm like, why would the defense be spreading rumors about their client? Aren't they? They're making him look bad. But then I realized it's because they want to taint the jury pool. That's what they're doing.
Oh,
So they're
interesting.
calling all these people and putting these thoughts out there, and then they want their basic bottom line is they want to change the venue for the trial. So they're doing whatever they can to taint the jury pool, which the
Interesting.
prosecutor and the judge are like, hold up, you can do a. Now this is news to me. Being a true crime fan, I'm a little bit embarrassed to know that I didn't know polls were a thing, because even the prosecutor at one point, he said he has no problem with the defense commissioning responsible proper surveys, but this survey he won't, it won't stand. I've never heard that. Have you heard of them doing
N-
surveys before
No,
trial?
but
I've never.
no, but remember, until I started this podcast, I actually had never even watched a trial or even read about like murder cases, with the exception of one. So yeah, this is all new to me.
Well, I can say that I watched a lot, and I never knew that they did polls. When
Huh.
you're the one who first told me that they were doing this phone poll, this phone survey, and I was like, what? And so I thought the fact that they were doing a phone survey at all was against the rules. You know what I mean? But now I find out, no, it's fine. It's just the questions that you ask. So this is
Uh,
like eye-opening to me.
it is eye-opening.
Anyway,
It's very interesting.
I cannot wait for this trial.
I know it's
Anyway,
going to
that's
be
the
very
last on that.
interesting, but I probably won't watch it. I'll probably just get the cliff notes from you.
Yes, you will. That's what I'm here for.
All
So
right.
what you got, Joy?
Well, in my updates and news about the cases that I'm going to cover, I would like to caption my segment as "Love is officially dead." So, the first case I'm going to talk about is the episode that we did not too long ago. Let me just find it because I'm having to like click, click, click between different cases. But it was my computer is acting crazy. It was season two. Where is it? No, it wasn't season two. It was season one. It was Mommy Dead and Dearest, episode 41, which aired on October 22nd, 2023. Also, if anyone out there doesn't have Spotify or whatever, and they don't have Facebook and they want access to these, reach out to us and we can send them to you on podcasters. Or we can, direct link it to you or whatever. But anyway, the first thing that I want to talk about is Gypsy Rose Blanchard. A couple of episodes ago, we talked about how she had split from her husband, Ryan Anderson. Um, she says that, I'm sorry, yeah, she was taking a break from social media. That's what it was. And her parole officer had told her to delete her social media accounts.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
this last week, the headline reads, "Why Gypsy Rose Blanchard Split from Husband Ryan Anderson." And her quote was, "It was too much of a struggle." Um, Free and single after 2 years of marriage and 3 months after her release from prison. So she's been married to this guy for 2 years, but she's only been out of prison for 3 months. She and her husband, Ryan Anderson, have separated, and a source exclusively tells In Touch the decision was mutual. They both realized they'd made a mistake getting married and it was too much too soon. They met in 2020 after Ryan, 37, sent Gypsy, 32, a letter while she was serving a 10-year sentence for conspiring to kill her mother. Their romance culminated in a prison wedding with plans to re-wed after her 2023 release. And remember, she had said that she even wanted to have kids. Anyway, the insider said that Ryan's letters helped her feel less lonely while she was locked up. It was too much of a struggle in the real world. They really didn't know each other well enough, and she'd rather be single. She may divorce Ryan when she feels the time is right. And I will say that she's when I did a little bit of super sleuthing, Ryan Anderson has a TikTok account with one post only. Gypsy Rose has a TikTok account with multiple posts, including a guy that she spent the weekend with um the same day that the split from her husband or 3 days before the split from her husband came out. I mean, it's like, wow. And it's an ex-boyfriend that she had met while incarcerated that
Oh
she
God.
dated before she met Ryan Anderson. Anyway,
Oh
um
God.
a second layer to this is after filing for divorce from her husband of just under 2 years, she has recently filed a temporary restraining order against him. In court documents obtained by ET, Blanchard, 32, filed a restraining order against her estranged husband in the 17th Judicial District Court in the parish of Lafourche, Louisiana, on Thursday. It comes 3 days after she filed for divorce from the special education teacher in Louisiana. According to court documents, she filed just before 2 p.m. on Monday, and 1 week after she announced in a private Facebook post obtained by People that they were separating. Her quote
So
is, yeah,
I guess the time was right because
I,
earlier you said she may divorce Ryan when she feels the time is right. Well,
right,
the time was right.
I guess her quote was, "People have been asking what's going on in my life. Unfortunately, my husband and I are going through a separation, and I moved in with my parents' home down on the bayou." Et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, she was seen holding hands with her ex fiance, Ken Erker, less than a week after confirming her split from her husband. And like I said, I went on TikTok and her ex husband, was with visiting a friend and recorded a short message that said, "I just want to thank everyone for the support. It's been great. I'm just living my life, guys," he says in a video. "Y'all will see what really happened on Lifetime. We were filming a lot, so stay tuned for that, and I will post more stuff eventually. I'm just hanging in." By the way, Lifetime has been recording a lot of what is happening in her life post release. And so there's going to be a Lifetime program that shows kind of like what these days after she got out of prison is like. And it's going to chronicle those short months with her husband and then her leaving and, hanging out with this other guy, an
Oh
ex-boyfriend.
God.
But also when I went to her TikTok account,
Uh,
she has since the split from her husband, she's also had a nose job.
oh.
So she seems, and I will also say that based on the posts on TikTok, she's not really taking the parole officer's advice by staying off
Right?
social media because TikTok is indeed social media. So I
Isn't
just hope,
isn't she afraid of being thrown back in prison?
I don't
I,
know, but I really hope that, she takes some time to get to know who she is and maybe step away. Social media is a house of cards. It really is. It's like going into the fun house at the state fair. It's all those weird mirrors where
yeah.
you think there's, 50 of you, and one mirror your legs look really fat and weird and the other one your head looks big and enlarged, and I guess on her mirror, her nose looks funny, so she's got to get it fixed. But
Mm,
I really want to give her the benefit of the doubt. She's young. She no longer has, one of her parents. She's been through a lot of trauma in her short life. And I would just hope that, help of a good therapist, maybe a good priest, maybe some loving family, maybe all of the above, and that she was putting her life back together instead of train wrecking it out in a public forum with, everybody who gets to weigh in because it's not an easy road. So good luck, Gypsy
Well,
Rose, and I hope that things get better for you.
well, I think that she's taking the train wrecking road. That's what it seems like. I was always in her corner because of what she went through. Um, so I've always been in her corner because think what she went through was dreadful. I don't condone the murder, but who knows? Who's to say if you were put through that kind of trauma for years and years and years and years, what you would do? So I do not judge her, and I've always really, without sounding like corny or insincere, I sincerely really always wished her the best. Like I was so happy that she was getting out of prison early, but it makes me very sad because I think that you talked about, hoping that she has a good therapist. It doesn't look like she does. Or if the therapist is good, it's not getting through to her. And I think she's going to have to sow her oats and do a little, train wrecking before she
Yeah.
hopefully gets her life back on
Well,
track.
and that's the thing is, unfortunately, she has this spotlight on her, and now Lifetime is going to release this
Very
whatever
sad
recording.
reality show.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that, like, I talked about it last week or the week before, while we love a redemption story, we also love a train wreck.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that at the expense of Gypsy Rose, people are lining up with their popcorn in hand. And I'd love for her to be able to just kind of slip into obscurity and live her life like Lizzie Borden did, right?
Well, yeah, and it's funny because usually, I'm all for like having a front row seat to some drama, but I really truly feel sad for her, and I'm, all the headlines that were coming out and whatnot. I really wasn't running to see what they, clicking on it to see what you were kind of updating me because I kind of stayed away from it because it truly has bummed me out that she's gone down this road. But hopefully she'll turn around. That's all I can say. But I think she's going to have to
Hopefully.
go through some bumps in the road. She was so young when she went in. Um, we all know that the marriage thing was not going to work. Um, but I think she just needs to kind of like spread her wings a little bit and do her thing, and then hopefully she'll land in a good place.
Well, and they were complete strangers. Let's face it. She left prison and she walked right into a marriage with a man who was a complete stranger. And on the tail end of that, let me just tell you that the next thing I'm going to talk about is about a marriage between complete strangers as well. So, for those of you who would like to know what part two of Love is Dead is, it's called The Golden Bachelor is Getting a Divorce. And for those of
Oh,
you who missed it, The
boo.
Golden Bachelor episode 1 aired on October 29th, called The Golden Bachelor. Then we did The Golden Bachelor Take 2, and that aired on December 3rd. And that was the second part of the show. And then, um, much against my desire or my wishes, we did a golden wedding that Cheryl really wanted and lobbied for, which was actually a lot of fun to record and to talk about. But that was season 2, episode 3, and that came out on January 21st, 2024. And let me just tell you, I, okay, first of all, I was, that's why we called this episode The Golden Divorce. The Golden Bachelor couple, Jerry Turner and Teresa Nist, said they are getting a divorce just 3 months after getting hitched.
Oh
Um,
man.
the pair who got engaged during season 1 finale of The Golden Bachelor in November of 2023 announced their split on, of all places, Good Morning America, just 3 months after they wed in January.
Oh.
Surprise, surprise! While they initially planned to move to South Carolina together, they explained that Jerry, 72, was still living at his Indiana lake house, and Teresa, 70, was still in New Jersey. We looked at home after home, but we never got to the point where we just made that decision, Teresa said. Gary Jerry added that they had a hard time committing to a new home because they're both dedicated to their families. So we look at these conversations and we both think it's best for the happiness of each of us to live apart. Okay, I just have to tell you that I had a lengthy conversation this morning with my husband about this.
Oh,
And
I
I
can't
just
wait to hear
want to
this.
put this out there that one of the things that both Cheryl and I really touched on that spoke to us about this was that they said that they don't have to find someone to grow old with because they're already old. So they just wanted to find someone to spend their last years on this planet with. So you can take that romantic dribble, shove it in a can, pour a bunch of shit on it, and light it on fire because that means nothing. Because the fact of the matter is if I was 72 and I found the love of my life living in New Jersey, I would sell everything I had and move to New Jersey, or I'd have her sell everything or him sell everything he had. I don't care what sex this person is, and just sell all their shit and move in with me. Because remember, again, you only have a few years left. Who cares where you live? So
Yeah.
obviously, they cared where they lived, which would indicate to me that it was not true love. What do you say?
No, I totally agree. And I think it was, sometimes we just have this, rose colored glass lens that we look through and about romance. And then you spend a couple of months together and all these things start to irritate you, like leaving the toilet seat up or, hanging your
Or
bra over the shower curtain or something. And
shitting
then
in the
you're like,
toilet, not flushing it.
not flushing, and you're like, okay, you know what? They can't even get past that. Forget like where they're going to live. That's probably what happened. Cause I'll tell you,
Well, they
living
did this,
together.
girl, they did this interview together and they were interviewed by Juju Chang. And I have to say that I watched it. They're holding hands the whole time. But here's the part that jumped out to me. One, Jerry Gary did not start crying when he's talking about splitting up, which I found
Oh,
very, very
interesting.
interesting. Number two, he still did that thing where he was mouthing what she was going to say. And I wanted to, ugh, I just wanted to scream. I was like, that's probably why she's leaving him. Because every time she would talk, he was trying to mouth whatever it was she was saying. And she was probably like, I can't stand it. I'm leaving. And the other thing is, when I asked my husband, what did he think? He said, listen, I don't really think it was a real marriage. So, of course, it's not a real divorce. He goes, it was pretend. It was all like smoke and mirrors. It was like the
Oh,
show. And he
interesting.
said, if you get put on a show and you're told we're going to record everything and you have to find a wife out of these 25 women, how on earth can it be a real thing? It's not real because in the real world, you would find the person on your own. You wouldn't have it contrived. And I have to say that I totally agree with him. And so does Slate, because Slate literally has an article about how you can't really call it a divorce when it wasn't really a marriage. And so I agreed with him. Um, One of the things that the successful couples have done, and I think back to our conversation about Trista and Ryan, which I believe
Hmm.
Trista Sutter was the first bachelorette that ever was on the show, is when they finished the process and they went through the wedding or whatever, they then left public life. They
Yeah.
stepped away completely and they focused on just themselves and their marriage. And I think it's the thing that saved them. But based on how they had to have the golden wedding and they had to have the golden honeymoon and the golden shower and the golden whatever picnic, I think what happened is when the cameras, remember we said that I said this, or you said this, that when the cameras were turned off, guess what? Oh no, no one's following us around anymore and taking pictures.
Right. Yeah. And now you're faced with the reality of each other. But so, do you think the fact that he wasn't emotional about the divorce, do you think he's already moved on?
I
Like
don't
in his
know.
in his
I
mind, he already had that backup going. He was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, Liberty Divorce. Let's go and go to Good Morning America. Let's announce it.
I
Let's get this over with
I
because
don't
I know
know.
who I want."
I don't know. One of the things that they said was that Teresa can't just pick up her and leave her job, and she has family in New Jersey. I wanted to say, who the fuck cares? And I think that because this show is fantasy and it's contrived and it's made up, it all worked out. Of course they loved each other. Of course the fantasy suite was awesome. Of course he enjoyed sticking his tongue down all those women's throats. But when the camera and the lights were turned off, the reality was she wasn't going to leave New Jersey and he wasn't going to leave Indiana. So guess what? They really didn't love each other. They didn't put love above all the other stuff.
Personally, I don't think it's about who wanted to move with who, who didn't want to move where, who wanted to move where. I
Yeah.
really think it came down to the cameras being off, that being the
Yep.
thrill of that being gone. You know how some people are exhibitionists and they like to do a lot
Yep.
of public displays of affection because that's what turns them on. It might have been a little bit of that, a little dose of that. Like it's exciting to have the camera
Yep.
on you while you're going through all of this. I think they just realized they really didn't care for each other as much as they thought. I don't think it has to
Well,
do with
because
who
they brought
wanted.
up the job situation and they brought up they couldn't find a place to live. And at the end of the conversation, they talked about how important it is to have a prenup. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, my God, you guys, I was like, was it? I don't know. It just made me feel so jaded. One, because I don't know, the holding of the hands, and they said they still loved each other, but at no time did they say that they were in love with each other. And the other thing is, um, the prenup was just such a cold and, like, I don't know, baseless,
Comment.
like,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
unnecessary comment.
And
Yeah,
at
I
72 and 70, I think those are their respective ages. If you can't slow down and take life one day at a time and quit your fucking job, which, by the way, you should be enjoying life, and I mean, then there's no hope for any of us,
Well, but
literally.
why would what? Okay, but why would she have to quit her job and move to him? Why couldn't he move to her?
Well, that's the thing, though, is that, like, remember, they threw that thing out there about at this point, they don't have to grow old together. They just want to find somebody to spend their last days with. Well, you found somebody on national television, which, like, to me, just indicates that it was a farce. You really didn't want to be with that person. You wanted someone else. And so all that crying was an act because he didn't seem real weepy on the interview.
Yeah, that's very telling. I think they just I
You think he
think that
just
they
wanted
just
to
they
probably,
got I think that he just stopped opening doors for her and she got annoyed, or he left the toilet seat up or the cupboards open, and every time she walked in the kitchen, the cupboards were open. I don't know. You know what I mean? It could be simple things. And then you're like, you know what? I'm too old and set in my ways to have to deal with this bullshit. I don't know. But I have a question for you. If they come up with another Golden Bachelor or Bachelorette, are you going to watch it?
nope. N-O.
Yeah, I
N-O.
feel the same. I feel like, oh, fuck this shit.
Yep. They ruined it for me. Gary Jerry and his stupid mouthing like what the other person's gonna say and is weeping all the time. I'm done with him. I'm done with this franchise. I don't know. I feel so gypped
I know.
by the whole
Yeah.
Bachelor franchise.
Well,
And I
I
just
was
want to
never.
get back all
I
those hours of my life.
well, I was never into The Bachelor, but I was into this one because it was golden, and I do feel like you. I feel jaded. I'm like, see, that kind of romance doesn't happen like that. Um, so that's yeah, it's very sad, but I think it was something
Yep.
else that we don't know about. Do you think he's going to go for Dirty Dancer?
I definitely think he will call her. And I definitely think that he is probably, I'm sure he's dating around.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: if you were Dirty Dancer and he called you, would you
No,
give him a
I'd be
chance?
like, you get your dirty penis away from me. Ew, ew. not let his crusty penis or his like weird mouthing the words before you say it come anywhere near me. I would be like, I would have crusty penis guards all over. Like, I would be barricaded against them. He is gross.
Oh my God. Oh God, you guys heard it here. No crusty penises for Joy.
Yeah, and I'll just tell you right now, if I called you and I was like, guess what? I met up with Gary Jerry, and I would expect you to be like this. You know what? That's a crime. And you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
We are out of time.
That is a crime. Jerry Gary's crusty penis is also a crime. And it is a crime that we are out of time. Thank you for listening, everyone. And don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch created and managed by Kevin Callan. Podcast editing and advertising by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezek. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube, and you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.